Hi everyone, this is Dan, and these are the Green Lantern Silver Age Volume 2 and the Green Lantern Silver Age Volume 3, and I'm going to need both of them in order to do this video, because today we're going to talk about classic Green Lantern and his lady companions. We've already kind of introduced Carol Ferris, but we're going to introduce a really interesting character, Star Sapphire. And let me see if I can find her right here. Where is that volume? It is... I should have bookmarked that damn thing. Here we go. Yeah, so Star Sapphire shows up in issue number 16 of the Green Lantern. Very interesting right here. Really nice classic Gil Kane drawings right here. That ideal feminine look right here. Anyhow, we start the story off, and it's Carol Ferris flying a jet. She's kind of explaining why she's flying a jet. Hal Jordan has kind of taught her how to fly, and she's kind of doing a little R&R, just going around flying while she's still thinking about the Green Lantern and Hal. Doesn't yet realize that they're the same person. She gets pulled down, and she gets brought down by these women who are aliens from another planet called Zamaron. This planet is kind of not that, kind of similar to the Amazon world that Wonder Woman is from. Anyway, they are all immortal, but for whatever reason, their leader is not, and she has passed away. And because, as is tradition, the leader of this planet has to be a mortal, and for whatever reason, that leader lady looks exactly like Carol Ferris. Carol's not exactly interested in joining them, but they convince her to do it, and she explains, well, she's in love with the Green Lantern. She doesn't want to, leave. And then they give her these powers and tell her, well, the Green Lantern's weak, and you'll defeat him, and you'll see that women are superior to men, and da 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 da. It's a really interesting plot for the times. I guess it's kind of shocking because I guess this is still kind of the 1950s. Or getting close to the 60s, and so the idea of women in this position is still kind of a unique novelty. So they transform her into Star Sapphire with this interesting outfit, and she goes out to challenge the Green Lantern. Meanwhile, Hal Jordan is talking with his friend Pieface, trying to figure out what happened to Carol. He flies out, runs into the Star Sapphire, and they get into this weird game where Star Sapphire basically steals something from a museum to challenge the Green Lantern to stop her, and the Green Lantern and her fight. And the first fight, Hal Jordan gets beaten, and she returns to the Zamorans, and she says, I still don't do it. I still won't do it. It's all an accident. There's no way I can be better than the Green Lantern, blah, 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 etc., etc., and she flies out and does another one of these jobs to challenge the Green Lantern again. They fight, power to power, and the Green Lantern manages to overpower her abilities, put her in a cage that kind of shields her from their control rays, and she disappears. And the Zamorans are like, well, you're a disgrace to our sex, so we're taking your powers away. And the Green Lantern, the last they leave with her with is the Star Sapphire Stone, which Hal takes to investigate for later. Now, there's a bunch of stories that follow this with Carol Ferris retransforming into the Star Sapphire character, and eventually Hal figures out who the Star Sapphire is in these later issues. I think what's sort of interesting about this is the concept of this character is used later on, and the idea of Green Lantern having sort of a super heroine interest who is secretly, his actual real life interest, right? Kind of a reversing of the roles that Hal has with Carol. It's okay. I think the costume's a little cheesy. Just personally speaking, but I think it's an interesting concept, and they get to play around with it for more stories later. But that's Star Sapphire. Now let's talk about the other one, which is Katma Tui. I hope I pronounced that right. Honestly, these alien names that they come up with are hard to figure out. So this is a story right here. This is the first introduction of Katma Tui, and in the early days, so this is a Green Lantern Corps sort of story. He gets called in by the Guardians. The Guardians explain to him, "Hey, when we ejected Sinestro back on his home planet, we had to find a replacement, and that replacement, we wanted that person to be the permanent Green Lantern, but they've decided to resign. Can you go over there and convince them to stay on as a Green Lantern?" So he flies over there, meets the person, and it turns out it's a lady, alien lady, probably one of many alien femme fatales that Hal runs into in his career. And she explains that she fell in love during her duty as Green Lantern, and she feels that as a woman, having fallen in love now, she wants to devote her life to her husband. This is very, very, I guess, the view of women of the time, right? It's a very 1950s view, right? She wants to be this man, Amy Khan's wife, take care of the kids and do all this other stuff. So if she's doing that, she can't be a Green Lantern, right? And, Hal kind of like a little bit devious. So he's like, okay, let me figure out a way to kind of finagle so I can get my job done. He goes over to Amy Khan, and sure enough, Katma is very suspicious of what the heck Hal's doing and kind of cuts him off real fast. And Hal pulls a real fast one right here. So he creates the same monster that she was fighting a while back, and she uses this monster to kind of trick her. What happens is that in between saving Hal and saving the man that she loves, she saves Hal, and they fight together to defeat the monster. And Hal kind of says, "Hey, that proves that you want to be a Green Lantern, and your loyalty is the Green Lantern." It's kind of I don't know how I feel about this story. This is definitely probably one of the few stories. Like, normally I either like a story from the Silver Age, or I'm very like, whatever about a Silver Age story. But this story I'm not very fond of, because it kind of puts Hal in the light. Normally Hal's kind of like a straight man. He's a police officer in space, right? And a test pilot, and he's working his stuff with Carol, but he's never really this trickster. And in this story, he's definitely a trickster, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So he manages to convince Katma to stay on with the Green Lanterns, right? And he has like a really interesting internal monologue here. It's pretty great. Katma Tui's situation parallels my own on Earth. Does what I told her or tell her mean I can never marry Carol Ferris? But Katma is a woman, and I am a man. Perhaps that will make a difference. Very, very 1950s of the time, right? To a degree, right? Obviously, men and women are biologically different, so you kind of have to take that into account, just being realistic. But yeah, very interesting introduction of the character. Also really interesting to see, so you don't really see it in the first two volumes of these Silver Age issues, but when you get to the end of the third issue, the art starts getting a lot better. Like, it starts really going into hyperdrive with Gil Kane. And it's around this time you get into the final omnibuses, and you get more closer to the Neil Adams stories, which are really, really, really good art, by the way. So that's that is the first issue of Star Sapphire and the first issue of Katma Tui. Very interesting, a little bit dated for the time. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you happen to subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Leave a comment down below about either of these two issues, or these two characters, really. And I will say this, for those of you who don't know and are interested in my manga videos, on BitChute, I have a series going on for Berserk. It is not safe for work, so you got to change your settings to be able to see not safe for work videos. But if you're interested in that, they're going up on BitChute. Don't really want to put those on YouTube, at least not until I get a feel for what's going on with YouTube and its censorship. And that's it, man. I will see you next time.